just give me a signal, now we'll start. Hello, hello, hello. Is it up? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is our STS dinner meeting in conjunction with SPTC, and we have guests from AICHE National. Some of them are sitting in one table here. Say hello to them whenever you get chance. They are the backbone. We are all connected, and we are doing our best. We're all volunteers. So welcome again, and we'll start. I will give you, those who have been to our meetings before, we always start with a roadmap. When you're going to start, where you're going to go, how you're going to go, and how you're going to manage the time, just like a project management. So we'll try our best to be on time. Cost is not a factor here. Schedule is very important. We need to finish everything. I was targeting 8, and I was very, very happy to hear from Ian Glasgow, who is the chair for this conference, to come and told me that we have this place till 8:30. So we have a grace period of half an hour that we will enjoy utilizing and making the best of it. Thank you again. So let me go over to show you the map. And of course, you will see some of these slides probably not in line with what you think where we are now. Like this one, 6 to 6:45. We still have 8 p.m., but we got half an hour. So we will spread that half an hour in between to make sure that we finish everything by 8:30. That's our promise. That's the help that we need from all of you. Of course, all times are approximate. Being engineers, and particularly chemical engineers, we can't have 100%. We always believe in some deviation. This is our agenda. We are going to do very briefly recognition of our patron for 2 reasons. We like to sensitize all of you to take advantage of it for next year. My friend is coming behind me. He is going to be here. I will introduce my team here. So we like to see that everybody comes back and help us with being a patron. There will be an announcement by the chair of the YP, Trevor Rice. He is here, always working, right here, see? Always busy. And then there will be a short blurb on the mentoring program that Dave Rosenthal is the chair-elect. He will be touching upon it. Then I will hand it over to the recognition part to Tom Mann. Everybody knows Tom. Tom is sitting somewhere right here. And he will be coming. And then we'll have an intermission. After that, we'll come back, and I will introduce the speaker of the night, and I will hand over the podium to the speaker to make the presentation. Very, very timely topics. And you will listen from the horse's mouth, because he is a very highly acclaimed expert in cyber security, particularly industry area. I'm not going to go over this. We were very lucky and fortunate to have all levels of sponsorship for all our meetings. It's very gratifying to see how many people, how many companies have come forward to help us. And some of them are sitting here, some of them could not make. One thing I like to tell you that, this lady Carol Smith, who's sitting there, and the team, They're always busy in recording and all that. Everything is available on the YouTube. So if you miss something, or if you have friends who could not make it, pass the information on. We like to spread the word. We like to be inclusive. We like to be diversified. We like to have more members, active volunteers, particularly our YP, multidiscipline team. And if you need a free training, any YP, including some non-YPs who have the courage and time, please come forward and get the training hands-on and come forward and be a volunteer for the future. It is a long list of about 25 of us who are patron. I'm not going to be reading. This is all our website. So please take a moment when you get time to go to our website, and you will see these names are all known to you, but we support it. It is both sides of the equation it supports. It cut down all kinds of misuse of time and managing the dinner meetings particularly. I'm not going to go over it. You can go to the website and you will see the frequently asked questions are also there. I like to touch upon our future meeting. Not the future, but the future meeting. We have only one meeting left. Give a big hand to all the people who have supported till today, and only one meeting left. With your cooperation and dedication, we are going to make it, and the next meeting is going to be Brady's Landing, and John Powell from Shell is going to come, and he's going to be giving a talk very different from what he is used to or what we are used to. It will be on mentoring, how to really capture the experience of the people who are retiring. Some of us are here who are going to be retiring, how to absorb, how to proceed, and how to take the leadership. So that will be very, very interesting topics. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Trevor. Trevor, if you take a couple of minutes, not more than that, you got 2 slides. Yeah, 2 slides, 2 minutes.
1 slide.
Okay, 1 slide, okay, so half a minute.
Only even have 1 slide. All right, so thank you, Shamal. Okay. Oh, I don't need that.
Okay.
I only have 1 slide. So the YPs had a happy hour in September. It was pretty great at Dave & Buster's. We did bowling. It was really fun. Our next YP happy hour is going to be in October at Yard House, which is over in City Center. And it's going to be from 5 to 8, and it should be really great. So please show up. I was also going to make an announcement about the December social, but something came up. So hopefully that announcement will be going out soon, and hopefully it'll be really awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good. Thanks a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Now we are getting to very heavy stuff. Mentoring. Dave. I'm sorry. Everybody knows Dave Rosenthal. He used to be our president at national level, but he decided to come down and help. So you can feel how assertively we are working together to make it happen. Thank you. Just take a minute.
I should really have my head examined, to be honest with you. I want to have the podium, and I'll take just a minute. For 2017, I'm looking for speakers and also for sponsors. So if you're interested in sponsoring a meeting for next year or interested in speaking, please see me, hand me a card, and I'd be more than glad to accommodate you for 2017. Second thing is, I just don't want this to go ado without saying thank you to Ian and all the staff that work with Ian, and also to Christine and all the staff that worked with Christine on this meeting. I know it's been successful, and I just want to make sure I said that and thank them for all their great work. So I wanted to make sure I got that on the podium today. Thank you. Mentor for an evening. We've trialed this now at several meetings, and its intention is basically to lower the barrier for a young professional to ask someone who is more experienced and have a conversation with them at our dinner meetings. And you saw me there placing name tags on people's badges. It's just as a way to get young professionals to say, hey, this individual has volunteered to speak to me this evening, and I can learn something from that person. So that is our mentor for an evening. It just is a way to, again, welcome our YPs into our meeting, because they certainly are the future of the section, and we need them here, and we want them to receive value for that attendance of our dinner meetings. So again, that's our Mentor for an Evening program, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We don't have the sticker, by the way, but that's okay. You look around those people who have, different type of hair, different color maybe, but we advanced in technology-wise, so if you don't see white, there could be underlying, somewhere. So look around and approach and talk to people. Absorb. Appreciate that very much. Now we are getting into one other stuff. I don't think Dale is here, but Carol, you want to mention? It is already spelled out. This is a very successful program that STS does in a very cost-effective way, and our historical number is very, very impressive. Success ratio.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Well, all the people that still talk to us have passed, so.
We don't know the failure part, but that's okay.
No, several people out in the audience tonight have taken the PE review class. If you have taken the PE review class, please raise your hand. You don't have to have taken the exam, just the class. If you liked the class, please tell everybody you know about it. This is what I consider the most tangible benefit to being part of AICHE, is being able to use this organization to better yourself as an engineer. And one of the ways that we do this is through the PE review class to help chemical engineers prep for the exam. We're currently revamping the exam, or the class, because the exam has been modified. They are converting to a computer-based exam, and the requirement of having 4 years is going to be decoupled from the exam requirement, so you could let people know that are just graduating that they can take the exam, and then after 4 years they would automatically apply the passing of the exam to their PE. You still have to take the FE, and this class is geared to prepare you for the PE.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, James.
And from our expert from Austin, that is December 9th is the application deadline, not the 12th.
Ah,
December 9th, we'll make the
Okay.
correction.
it was Friday? It's a Friday? Okay. Well, then we will correct that on the website as well. Right, Phil?
Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. Appreciate it. Got jammed. High-tech problem?
What? Did I turn it off?
Probably, I don't know. Okay. I'm going to hand over the podium to Tom Menn. Everybody knows Tom. He's going to walk you through all the recognitions and announcements that we're going to do. And I will do, or you want to do?
You do it.
You do it? Okay. All right. So be careful.
You gotta go down that way, let's be
That's
safe.
all right. Okay. Because your stuff is here. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Slides in the wrong place, but, okay. It's annual awards night, and tonight is the first thing we would do is to recognize someone who has excuse me.
Tom.
Yeah. Us short people have problems. Tonight, the South Texas section wishes to recognize its annual award recipients. Before we wish to recognize a person while a non-member has contributed to the production of South Texas section monthly dinner meetings over the past year. He has also helped haul the OTC goodie bags to Reliance Center. In recognition of contribution of his time and talents, the South Texas section Executive Committee wishes to recognize Mr. David W. Stojan as a valued friend of the South Texas section AIChE. David, please come forward to receive your award. Go on and give it to him. Congratulations, David.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Thank you for all your help. It's been a fantastic job.
At this point, the South Texas section AIChE wishes to recognize Dr. Victor Edwards for his efforts to see that South Texas section members receive recognition as fellows of AIChE by recognizing him with the South Texas section Special Service Award. There are a number of STS members who own their fellow pins to Vic. Vic, please come forward and receive your award. Congratulations, Vic. The South Texas section Best Papers competition received 6 applied papers and 3 fundamental papers. The Best Papers judging committee was chaired by Matt Christensen and Ryan Stevens, both of Shell, and was composed of the following members, and if any are present, would they please rise when their name is called and remain standing. Oscar Aguilar, Jack Beeler, Flavia Casiolia, Matt Christensen, Pirakan Desai, Eric Engwald, Walter Farmian, Jeffrey Fedorenko, Raymond French, Shikar Jain, Amit Kalra, Abanishek Kaur, Anand Nalkar, Nihal Falak, Ishan Rao, Ryan Stevens, Vishrana Subramanian, Vinod Venkanatan, Sumed Wendkar. Look, I grew up being able to pronounce names like Schwaneman and Zumalati and Fuchs and Schmidt. On behalf of the South Texas section, I wish to extend the STS deepest appreciation and thanks for contributing your time and talents. Please be seated. Oh yeah, and Brisby Oknovich. That's 15 letters. The 2015 South Texas section AIChE Best Applied Paper was titled High Pressure Measurements and Molecular Modeling of Water Content of Acid Gas Containing Mixtures by Whale E. Ford, Matt Yarrison, Ku Vai Song, Kenneth R. Cox, and Walter G. Chapman. The paper was published in AIChE Journal, September 2015, volume 61, number 9, pages 3038, 3062, 52. Would the recipients please come forward and receive their awards? Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The 2015 STS Best Fundamental Paper was entitled Understanding the Thermodynamics of Hydrogen Bond and Alcohol Containing Mixtures, Self-Association by Whale E. Ford, Lee Wang, here we go, Arnin Hap, Hogamari, and Sumar K. Gupta, and Walter G. Chapman. The paper was published in Journal of Physical Chemistry B, 2015, 119, parentheses, 44, close parentheses. Should have made it on one sheet of paper. Pages 14086, 14101. Would recipients please come forward to receive their award? Congratulations, guys. I hate these lights.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. You are on the YouTube. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations again. Thank you.
The recipient of the 2015 South Texas Section AIChE Outstanding Young Professional Award is Philip Perpich. Philip received his BS in Chemical Engineering from that place on the Brazos. And I don't mean Waco. Texas Agricultural Mechanical College. In 2009, as a student, he was employed by Williams Gas Pipeline as a summer intern. In 2009, by the Artie McFerrin Department of Chemical Engineers as a student worker in the computer operations in 2008 and 2009. After graduation, Philip joined Johnson Controls, Inc. in 2010, working in the HVAC business as a building efficiency system project engineer. In 2011, he joined AMAC Foster Wheeler, where he remained through 2014, serving in both as process design and off and on sites installation capacities. In January, Philip rejoined Johnson Controls and now is an enterprise accounts project engineer. Philip's volunteer activities include serving as a secretary 2012 and president 2013 and 14 of AMAC Foster Wheeler's Rising Professionals Association, Education Foundation of Harris County, as a board member from 2012 to present, and as a big brother and big sisters mentor from 2014 to present. Philip's South Texas section activity has been serving as the STS webmaster since August of 2012. This means he does normal webmaster activities plus bulk emailings, preparing the meeting announcement slides like these, and other related duties. Philip received the 2013 STS Special Service Award. Philip, please come forward to receive your award. The recipient of the 2015 South Texas Section AIChE Award is Larry Criswell. Larry received his BS in Chemical Engineering from the University of Washington in 1961. Is that right? As a student, he worked for Puget Sound Pulp and Timber Company, which is Georgia Pacific, and as an engineering aide. Following graduation, Larry joined DuPont. After a short stint with DuPont, he joined Hercules Incorporated, where he held a number of positions until 1968. Larry then worked for Celanese Plastics Company for the next 12 years, holding several positions. In 1980, he began a process engineering career with stints in the following companies: Bechtel, Stone & Webster, Brown & Root, JBEK, John Brown, Allstates, Parsons, ENC, Worley Parsons, they might call it now, Dow Chemical, Foster Wheeler, and Floor, which he completed in 2014. Larry has also sold equipment for Egan Machinery or John Brown Worldwide Sales. Representative, okay, got them mixed up? No. Anyway, his first activity, Larry's a senior member of AICHE and a professional engineer in Texas. Prior to joining the South Texas section, he was a Puget Sound section representative to the Puget Sound Engineering Council. That's the equivalent of being an ECH representative for South Texas. Larry then became involved in the Texas Coastal Bend section as program chair, section chair, and section past chair. Larry then joined us in the South Texas section. He served in the following positions: STS Treasurer, 1986, STS Chemical Engineering Opportunities CEO Chair, South Texas Section Chair-elect 2005, South Texas Section Chair 2006, and STS Past Chair 2007. Larry has received the 2007 Past Chair Appreciation Plaque. He also has been a STS patron for several years. Larry has served as a member of the National Professional Development Committee for several years and participated in 3 national leadership development meetings. Larry, please come forward to receive your award. Congratulations, Larry.
I guess with that, we conclude your
We got one more thing we want to talk about.
Okay.
We got a thing called, AICHE has a thing called 35 under 35. It's an award category, and it has 7 different categories. They want to give 35 awards to 35 young YPs. Bioengineering, chemicals, education, energy, innovation, leadership, and safety. The deadline is January 30th, 2017. Award is administered by the Young Professionals Committee. Qualifications: AICHE member, STS members goes to this committee, born in 1983 or later. Contact me, just call me. You know where to find me. I'm not going to give you an email address because you're not going to write it down anyway. The recipient recognition is a $500 prize. Recognition at awards reception at the 2017 annual meeting. I think that's Minneapolis, right? And profiles highlighted in the Institute and Chemical Engineering Community, online, CEP magazine, and the like. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your help.
Now
This
let
is
me
a
see how to
big,
get
big
down
item.
from here.
Big, careful steps.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So the first chapter is over. We'd like to thank you for being here. Now the heavy stuff is coming in terms of the presentation by the invited speaker. We're going to take a short break. And the short break is going to be for 15 minutes. So please feel free to mingle around, share the information. If you have any question or anything, ask around. Yes. Yeah. Tomorrow at 7:30?
No, at 7:30 the bar closes, so.
Oh, that is important. That is very, very important. The bar is about to close. You got only 5 minutes. So those who want to take any drink, this is your opportunity. Thanks for telling. 15 minutes break. Please do come back, and then we'll resume our rest of the evening program. Thank you.
It would be HDMI, yes. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Your slides are on.
It's not coming? What happened?
think you can click through it, because you have a couple. Okay. Whatever, okay. Hello, test. Testing, this is going to be done like this, okay, perfect.
Hello. Hi. So we're going to be getting started in a few minutes, but if you are new to these meetings, we would like to invite you to get a mug with Trevor over near the sound booth area. So if this is your first meeting or if you haven't ever gotten a mug before, we want to show you some love and make sure you get a mug. Thank you.
Garo? Garo? Did you have? Is it? No, it's not in my pocket. Do you have that? Pointer? No? It was here. It was here. It was just sitting here. Hey, Carol, I got it. It was hiding behind there. This is one. Right?
We're all good.
We got it. Hello, hello, hello. Please come back and take your seat. We have 45 minutes, so you want to finish by 8:30. That's the promise. So we need your help and your cooperation. You have seen the depth and breadth of this organization, where the membership fees, where your support goes, and what we do. You got a glimpse of it. But there are a lot of things behind the scene that happens every day in this organization. With that, welcome back. And we're going to start the presentation for tonight. We have an expert amongst us, and Francisco Soto. Frank, he's going to be making the presentation, very timely subject. I was told that this is the month for industrial cybersecurity. And he will be touching base on that. He got a wealth of experience in this area. 25 years of experience, out of that 10 years with Honeywell in different aspects of that. He has a bachelor's degree in computer science, master's degree in information systems, and an MBA. In addition to all that, he is expert in Spanish. You know, it's very hard to detect that, but he has that expertise. With that, I'd like to welcome Frank to come to the podium and make his presentation on these important topics. It's all yours, and this is the clicker. Perfect. Yeah, in 45 minutes, and then you have the pointer here also.
Perfect. I'll make sure to keep it.
We got total 45 minutes, so maybe 15 minutes we keep for Q&A.
45 plus 10.
You know, try to manage 45 minutes.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Time. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time this evening. I'll definitely try to keep it in line with the time schedule, so no problems, and we'll be able to handle any questions at the end that you may have. The goal of the presentation was a couple. One is to kind of see what are the trends we're seeing in the industry, a little bit of background on cybersecurity, and some of the solutions that are out there in the market and how they play into trying to protect yourself. So that's the overall gist of the presentation. With that being said, what are we seeing and why cybersecurity? What's occurring in the marketplace that we're seeing? One of the things that's happening is we're seeing the industrial Internet of Things, the IIoT is what's commonly referred to. What's happening is a lot of the field devices are becoming a lot smarter, requiring a lot more information to be transferred. So what's putting a lot of bandwidth, additional bandwidth is being required at a network level to be able to transfer that data, send it up, be able to process it, and do something. So it's causing you're having to bring in a lot of disparate systems, the information from disparate systems, disparate vendors, into one control system and transfer it up into the business network to make business intelligence. So what you're having is that's causing a lot of churn in the technology and how we do that. That's one of the trends we're seeing. An additional one is we're starting to see the IT and the OT, the informational technology and the operational technology side of it converge. You're seeing a lot of companies are trying to apply and see how to apply the IT policies and procedures into the OT side. They generally don't play very well. They generally is a lot of, because of the goals of the IT organization, the OT are a little bit different. A couple of other things that are happening is as people are retiring, there's not a lot of the knowledge of the install base and how these systems work, how they communicate is leaving. So you're having that as kind of becoming the perfect storm, and that's what's leading to a lot of the cybersecurity pushes we're seeing. How is this manifested? We're seeing this manifest itself by a lot of companies are seeing a lot of cybersecurity incidences. ICS-CERT is a department of the Department of Homeland Security that collects information from various different companies, anonymizes it, and collects it up. What we're seeing generally in the critical manufacturing space, which is generally the oil and gas, refining space, in the past year from 2014-15, as noted there, we've seen an increase in cybersecurity events, 97% increase just in that year. The current year's data is not available. What we're seeing is, and that's attributed to a variety of factors, as you mentioned earlier. You have them in others. Say, for example, the financial, you only saw about a 2% increase. Just to kind of put it in perspective, normally most people would think cybersecurity vulnerabilities, let's attack the banks. No, that's not what is occurring. It's occurring in the critical manufacturing. With that being said, is when we started looking at the analysis of those incidences, what were the vulnerabilities, what were the attack vectors that came in that led to those events? A lot of them were very simple things. Bad passwords, network probes, the network wasn't segmented right, implementing. And then there was also something called spear phishing, which has been very, very common. I'll provide a little bit of context in spear phishing in a couple of little later slides and talk through how that actually works. Okay. One of the things that's happened is the outcome of the assessment was ICS identified, well, what policies, what procedures could have been implemented to either mitigate those incidences or to prevent them from occurring. One of the things that's happened was it was shown that whitelisting, which is, you normally use it in conjunction with antivirus software, normally to prevent, you can think of it as antiviruses will prevent known threats, and what whitelisting does is it says these applications are able to run on this server or on this workstation. So that's one of the controls that would have. Another one was just maintaining the patch level of your systems, whether it be your operating system or even of your DCS vendors' patches or the solution providers' patches, that normally those are applied. And those generally have to be applied and qualified by that particular vendor. You generally can't just take, if in the case of Microsoft, generally it's not recommended just installing the release patches from Microsoft. They normally have to be qualified. And then there's a couple of other mechanisms that would have defended, but they're generally, not to belittle them, but they're generally just, most customers haven't started implementing those in reality. One of the things that's happened is the Lansing, Michigan, the Board of Power and Light had an incident just to kind of show the problem. This was reported by CERT that they had a PLC that when they went to update it, there was ransomware in the update. So what it did is when they applied the patch, it locked up the PLC, and it basically was a ransomware attack that required the person going in, paying this entity to get a code to take the ransomware off the PLC. That was documented, that was earlier this year. Well then, how do these things happen, like those incidences? You have spear phishing, which I'll kind of describe. We have a lot of vendors even our own laptops that brought in to maintain the system. Those are generally ways or vectors that things can come into it. USB, Fitbits. How many people have ever seen an operator connecting the phone to a station just to charge it up? Not to do anything nefarious, but just, I need a place to charge. That's a perfect avenue for, there's been several incidences of malware being introduced into the control systems by a simple way of connecting a phone to charge it. Said Fitbit, Flash. I'll go into some of these other mechanisms later on. In spear phishing, how does that work? Well, generally a hacker will generally do research as to who works where. This can be done through many avenues of social media. LinkedIn, start doing searches. Once that person identifies who are the people identity that they want to attack, then they're able to find out, okay, what's those people's social networks, and start tracing them down. Start probing for vulnerabilities, looking at it from what do they associate, what are their hobbies. To be able to tailor emails to that person that would be recognized as a familiar person. This is a very common way. What happens is, generally those emails are generally tailored, and since they're generally from a known associate, they're able to pass many of the corporate email filters. So when you click on the link, it automatically downloads some malware, and it infects that machine. As soon as that machine is infected, generally they try to spread out, kind of like patient zero, right? They kind of go spread out. This is kind of the infection map from a semantic documentation that I just used for documentation purposes. Once you have that machine infected, it's very easy to leapfrog and keep affecting other machines, particularly in control systems that aren't isolated, have network segmentation, don't have different security zones in place. So once you get in one machine infected, just keeps leapfrogging. Once the machines get infected, they try to get out of the process control networks. Most firewalls and the control networks are configured to prevent information from coming in. Many allow the traffic out. That's what happens. Once you have that malware, it tries to communicate home. So it keeps leapfrogging from machine to machine, and also keeps looking for different avenues out. And that's a way out. Many of our firewalls are not configured to prevent this type of attack. Just that's the takeaway. With that being said, is one of the pieces that helps is having a process control network that's properly segmented, that's in line with what's commonly they're called ISA 99. Some people also refer to it as a Purdue model. What this has is generally has level 1, level 2, where you normally have your field instrumentation, your supervisory control, which may be your servers, your operator consoles, and then you have your advanced controls, and then you generally have a DMZ that allows the information to get exchanged between your process control network and the business network. So that's typically the architecture, and you've generally have multiple networks of these. You may have in a refinery, there may be one unit, the crude network of a level 1 level, and maybe your cat cracker's another. I'm using it just for clarity's sake. So you can have multiple networks, multiple level 1, multiple level 2 networks within your network. So it's not you can provide some isolation and segmentation. With that being said, is how do I provide containment? Once I have this network structure, how do I provide some containment? A lot of the mechanism that we have is providing what's called zones and conduits. So you identify what applications need to communicate from one level to another. And what you can do is you can normally install some firewalls or adjust some of your routers to limit the communication between those devices to be able to prevent the spread of malware, viruses, but still allow the communication to come through. It's generally a very specialized drop. This could be something as putting in filters that are Modbus aware. A lot of times you may have interfaces to SCADA pipelines in your control systems. These are good points of putting segmentation, putting in firewalls that allow the needed process control, communication through, and block the communication that's not required. And can provide. A lot of the items that are put into it is making sure that the firewalls are properly tuned and updated and monitored. Because having a firewall that isn't monitored doesn't really help very much, because you would never be able to see what's going through it, as far as the incidences. There we go. One of the things that's happened is, as we start putting in firewalls, you start putting in firewalls between the different zones. So maybe people put in firewalls from PLC metering skids. The reason for this is a lot of times a vendor may come in to update or work on the metering skid. The first thing they generally do is plug the laptop into that metering skid to either check it, configure it. You don't have any control of that laptop. Imagine the event, the spearfishing event that I just demonstrated. That's very, very true. Even a lot of the metering skids currently now have a cellular uplink. That whether you know, it's a lot of times when it's installed, that cellular link may be turned off, or maybe it's turned off as part of the project, but next time when they refresh the software, that cellular link is automatically turned on again. So imagine your process control network directly connected to the cellular network or the internet by that way, and you have no filtering all the way through. This isn't to scare anyone, it's just what we're seeing and what's happening. And this is happening in every plant, every refinery, all over the world. Well, with that being said, what do I need to do to with in mind? Generally, you need three things to kind of come in: people, process, and technology to kind of defend it. Those things go hand in hand. Generally, your people is obviously having people who are knowledgeable and aware of the risks, and having a program in place to keep those people knowledgeable, keep them trained, keep them up to date with the current standards. And as far as the processes, that has to deal with governance. The same way we normally do HAZOP reviews for critical systems or safety systems, EST systems, you need to have some kind of reviews on some of your on systems from a cybersecurity perspective, backups. I can't say how many instances we've been called in to someone said they had a backup but weren't able to restore from it. Something as checking is, hey, can I restore from my backups? Those are simple things, but those are needed. One of the things that happens is that you have is, from a vendor perspective, you generally try to look for, if you're looking for a vendor to try to provide you cybersecurity services or offerings, you generally try to look for that to have a depth of knowledge, that have a wide spectrum of experiences in this space, and not only have just one person, but have multiple people who are able to focus and able to provide you different solutions that are required for your systems. As a whole, generally, we've been doing this for over 10 years. We have over 140 people in place, and we have our own R&D and things like that. One of the things to look at, generally, if you're starting to look at for people and evaluate people doing and working on your control system from a cybersecurity perspective, you generally want to see people that have some kind of IT background or networking or cybersecurity, but also understand your control systems intimately. That's a very small niche of people. Imagine taking a Venn diagram of all your IT people and people in process control, overlapping them. That's your possible players here. Generally, it's a very select group. And that handles for all of Honeywell DCS, ABB, Emerson, you name it, the same applies. With that being said, how is this industry responding? You're starting to see a lot of the standards being formulated around this. A lot of people used to adhere to ISA 99, which we talked about earlier in the zones and conduits. You're seeing that codified into what's called IEC 62443 and the different dot variances that spell out those efforts. If you're in the power generation, you're generally probably very, very familiar with NERC SIP and all of the different revisions, different requirements for each of the revisions. There should be a new NERC SIP that's should be coming out shortly, so that to address a lot of the events that have occurred. We have ANSI. If you have partners in Japan, you may have some of the JRC or NISA in Europe, and the list goes on as far as the standards. That's been one of the problems, is that there's no overarching standard that says you got to do it this way, because every organization, every country has had a little bit of different spin on it. Well, what do I need to do? How do I respond to this? Generally, what happens is, as most solution providers will generally have and look at it from a variety of different aspects of what you need to address. Generally, starting from the top is, where am I standing? Network assessments, cybersecurity assessments, basically to kind of let you know where you're standing. You need to generally do an inventory of where you are so you know how to remediate, kind of like a basic engineering, right? You're going to do an FEL to understand where you're going, what you're designing, and then you can come up with a plan on addressing those. That's kind of what those are. With architecture and design, we've already talked about identifying the different applications, different zones. Continuing on for the network security, this is generally your perimeter security and your process control. This is where you generally interfact. Your process control talks to the business network, and also the weak underbelly generally is considered level 1, level 2 interfaces, and how do you protect those? The last point is, how do you protect the actual individual devices? This can be the servers, workstation, controllers, field devices. That's what that needs to address. As well as looking at it in situational awareness. These are tools that in real time allow you to see what's going on and how to respond. Because a lot of times the systems have been infected and you don't know that the infection has been going on for a significant period of time. So you've seen a degradation in the performance over time until it gets to be catastrophic. That's usually what happens. At least that's what we're seeing a lot of it. And also in disaster recovery, which is the sixth little bubble up there, that has to do with making sure you have backups, but also what are your processes in place. So what you generally look at it is a holistic perspective of how do I remediate those things from a system. And these can all be done, they don't have to be done all at once. So you can do them, implement them as whatever makes sense for your organization, whatever you're doing as far as your ongoing maintenance and projects. Generally, tools that allow you to understand where you are is, you generally have a variety of tools, whether they be SIMs, risk managers. What these tools do is they allow you to identify and calculate risk of different items based by different vulnerabilities. So say you have a controller that has all of your assets, or you have a safety system. The criticality and the consequences of that system going down is much higher than, say, a historian or a shadow historian that's transferring data up to your process, to your corporate level. A lot of these tools that are available allow you to identify and calculate that risk in real time as far as patching, vulnerabilities, network traffic, and that can be done there. And they've been geared specifically for control engineers. So this isn't geared, these tools are not geared for your IT professional, your IT guy there. And they allow you to drill down very quickly, identify what tools, where the vulnerabilities are, and also identify what you need to do, because that control engineer has 20 different responsibilities that are pressing, and they need to identify, okay, if I've got a risk here, what do I need to do? These tools need to tell them what actions they need to take, and if they can't do it, tell them who, at least let them know that they need to get someone else to remediate or take care of those issues. And that's how we're seeing a lot of those tools occur. One of the things it's also seeing is, how do I maintain my system from patching and services? That was one of the main items on how to maintain your system. How do I get the qualified patches from your vendors? That's one of the questions that need to be asked, is how do I get that? That could be for the application itself, for Windows, for your Cisco devices, or whomever. How do I keep those current? Because a lot of times in the process control world, we throw a network switch or a firewall or something out there, and it's been 8, 10 years of being in the field. No one has touched it. That device is not maintained. Just kind of contrast that with how generally IT maintains switches and firewalls. Generally, those have a lifespan of about 3 to 5 years, and they're obsolete. And they're maintained at least on a yearly basis with patching. In the process control world, we generally haven't done that. How do I do the performance and monitoring? That's kind of what I mentioned with some of those tools. How do I do the trending? I generally want something that gives me the ability to understand where my control system is, how it's performing. So that way you can identify over time, can I add X amount of points? Can I add these units without causing any degradation of my performance on my system? The same thing is generally if I have secure access. This might be kind of a misnomer. Generally, you would think having a way of securely getting remote access, bringing in specialists in, may be counterproductive, but it isn't. If you've got a secure way that's logged, recorded, that's verified, it's much better. What happens is if you generally don't have that happen, people will figure out ways around it. Just generally is what happens. And that could be done for vendors as well. If you've got, like I said, the example of the PLC vendor who's coming in to service it, you can have those experts come in securely and work with you to coordinate the work at the site. One thing that's also is generally required is the ability to generally do research and development. In our group, that's what we've been doing for years. We have 4 research engineers who only do research into cybersecurity. Those people are scary. We generally don't let them out to the public. But we do research there. We do qualification testing. We've got a lab in Atlanta. We also have a lab opening up in Dubai. And we use it for replicating customer systems, do vulnerability testing, because you generally don't want to do testing on live systems for obvious reasons, right? With that being said, we generally have a couple of, these are just a list of a couple of well-known cyber events that were released in the newspaper. I didn't go for the big, some of the biggies which you probably are aware of, like Stuxnet. Everyone's probably heard of that. Affected in some centrifuges in Iran. But blackout energy took out the Ukrainian grid for, it basically blacked out the entire grid. It took out their SCADA system. So it caused a cascade from substation to substation and kept on going down. Basically, Ukraine's power went out for several days. Amazing. In winter. You had hammer toss, pawn storm. There were a variety of different ones. Customers that were there. Actually, it's kind of hard to tell. This is just a list of resources from ICS CERT, NIST. There's a lot of tools out there that you can use. CSET from the Homeland Security kind of some questionnaires that kind of help you identify where you are, where your vulnerabilities are. And then you can use a lot of those tools to help you justify your activities or identify gaps that you can take to your management. A couple of other ones, this was just Homeland Security cert that I mentioned. And with that being said, any type of questions or anything? I know kept it right on time.
It's open for Q&A. John?
I was wondering what the comparative risk is between and the size and cost of simple data theft, you know, credit card numbers or proprietary data as an oil field development versus the threat from the phishing that actually wants to shut down an industry or extort money from you. Would you compare those two threats and how large they are?
Generally, the threats, what's happening is you're starting to see, generally, traditionally in cybersecurity, in more the traditional, what's affected financial institutions, the IT side of the house, it was generally cybersecurity, but the effects were limited to either to money, to intellectual property, to something, let's just call it electronic. In cybersecurity for the industrial, what's happened is you're having someone try to manipulate the electronic environment that would control the physical environment. So the impacts are greatly different. Say, for example, the effects of maybe turning on a hydrogen, a pump, or shutting down a pump, or even bypassing your interlocks on a safety system can have catastrophic effects. And can also have effects beyond the physical damage, loss of brand image, damage in the workplace, in the environment. So the consequences are a little bit different, but they have monetary value. I'm not aware of a particular study that compares say, a break-in or a cybersecurity event from a financial like Home Depot with credit cards to the IT. I've never seen a direct comparison.
So thank you for that talk. First, a personal opinion and then a question.
Sure.
Personal opinion, I believe that one of the greatest computer vulnerabilities is most people's tendency to use the same password on multiple different websites and even secure sites. And this is such an easy to remedy fix, but it does require the use of a password manager, which I personally use. I'm a strong supporter of an app called 1Password that does so securely. But now the question rather. You mentioned that for obvious reasons you don't do testing on a live system, and obviously you're referring to you don't want to inadvertently cause that unit to shut down. At the same time, unless you test the customers with, this is a term called white hat hacking, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the good guys, it's people
Yeah.
like your employees
Yeah.
testing a live system, knowing that they're not going to shut it down, but unless they test it, the management of that company will have no idea what their vulnerability is. And in fact, your tools, I'm sure they're quite good, but they will not reveal, for example, that the admin has not changed the same password that computer was provided as the default, right? That's an example. If you don't try testing that password, then no one would know that the sysop or the admin has such a grievous vulnerability in the systems.
Well, there's ways that we can back into those particular vulnerabilities. So you generally, when you do scans, you're generally looking either for an active vulnerability, either a patching known. You generally scan a system against a known library, whether it be what's in the open forum and also what's been customized and developed. Then you also have, what do you start looking at those policies, your governance? Would you have password aging on your system? Do you have a history set on them? Do all the operators in a unit use the same passwords, I dare say? Those kinds of things. So you identify those particular vulnerabilities in a different manner than an active penetration testing.
Okay, so you are able to test that aspect of
Yes. If you're looking at that particular use case, that can be identified through other controls.
For a chemical engineer, how do you get into this? Are there like courses that teach in universities, or do you take some?
Yeah, there's several courses that can provide backgrounds in cybersecurity, in ISA, that are available, that are out there through several accredited organizations. There's also accredited organizations through some of the vendors, whether it be if you're looking from a Cisco perspective or Palo Alto. You also have other accrediting agencies like CISSP that are vendor, let's say, neutral. They're just a certification body.
I would also add to that answer that there are many hacking competitions, so just capture the flag.
Yes.
Yes. where you can- where you
DEF
can
CON.
Test that out, yeah. My question is, Stuxnet largely showed that air gapping is not as secure as was previously believed, and it's usually only used at like the highest level of security. Do you think that air gapping has a future, or does it just need to be done better, or is it completely pointless?
Generally needs to be done better, because generally in an air gap system, theoretically, you have a system that works in isolation. Generally, those are very few and far between, because you generally need to get some process data out of the control system to feed generally the ERP system from a corporate, either to make trades, to sell their product, to understand what was transferred, something as simple. So generally those are the mechanisms by which you generally have a process control system that's connected and sending data up. There's things that you can do to be able to pass data a little more securely, maybe start using data diodes. You look at it, you see a lot of some implementations of those on offshore platforms, things like that. Did I answer your question or not?
Somebody was asking what air gapping is as well. If you could explain that.
Sorry. Air gap generally is a system that is generally a standalone system. Think of it as your computer. If you turn in the old days, took the phone line off, took the wireless card out, took the Ethernet cable out. That's an air gap system. You would think it's secure, but there's always vulnerability. Someone can stick a USB into it, and it would be right because it would never have antivirus updates. So you have to mix connectivity with functionality, and that's where it comes into. Most systems, at least in the industrial systems, are not air gapped completely, because you always have to bring something back.
How prevalent is this really happening? You gave a couple of examples at the start, which was nice to put it into perspective. I've heard of a few stories of ransomware, but in terms of deliberate attempts, right? Obviously, if your name is Iran and you're building a new facility, you should know darn well that you're going to have countries trying to stop you. But for a normal operator, to what degree are they a target? How common is it? Are these statistics available? And second of all, thanks for giving me something new to be afraid of. This is good.
Well, let me begin by saying you're welcome, and thank you for giving me the time to do that as well. With it occurring, we have people globally that handle this worldwide, that do remediation work on projects, significant. There's a significant number of vendors. The problem is the same thing with the ICS cert. Most of the time no one is going to say this has happened, and you're not going to say, okay, this happened here. It generally doesn't work in that way. One is, at that point, you wouldn't want to be a customer of that organization that did those kinds of things. Release that information. Number two, the information that is available, you can see that there was a marked increase in that past year's time frame. It was a 97% increase year over year in the events of just in critical infrastructure. Compare that to what you would think would be the big vulnerabilities, the financials, what happened to passwords. Said generally it was Target, Home Depot's had them that have been in the news. So it happens quite a lot. You subscribe, go online and go to ICS Cert, and you can subscribe to the industrial, basically the known vulnerabilities of all the industrial vendors, post them. All of them do. Emerson, Yokogawa, Honeywell, everyone posts theirs. Those are generally posted when there's already a fix. So what that tells you is you need to keep your systems patched.
In your worldwide service providing this sort of thing, do you see any sort of uniform data collection and all that in different parts of the world, seeing that some part is more vulnerable than the rest? Is there any, or is just scattered all over?
There's certain countries that are generally are much more aware, are much more security aware. You mentioned, Iran was mentioned, Saudi Arabia is another. Is just you see what's happened with these are events that are known in the environment. Shamoon was randomly wiping out hard drives. They're very secure conscious. So different parts of the world have different philosophies on it. But you're starting to see more and more customers, as it's happening to them, become more and more aware. Something is driving that particular, the need for those, let's just say that.
The other question I have is, if you look around, you covered the whole industry, starting from refining to power plants to everything else, including the drinking water system in big cities and all that. Do you see that any particular sector is showing more vulnerability than the others, or is just all over the map?
In the power generation, there's been a lot in power generation and distribution at a high voltage level. You see the application of a lot of the standards. NERC SIP, for one, from the has come down and codified a lot of the strategies. How do you do backups? How do you do log management? User passwords has been defined. That's one of the few industries that says, okay, the standards are very prescriptive. You have some that have CFATs, have some, but not. It doesn't go in depth as NERC SIP. Particularly the power gen and power distribution has a significant number of standards that says they're generally the ones who already have advances and have the internal processes by which to keep these systems maintained.
Are you seeing, just like CTO, most of the big industry players, they have their CTO on their staff?
Yes.
Are you seeing a similar structure is evolving in industry where they're going to be focused on individuals who are going to be responsible for their whole?
Generally, they do. To some degree, it depends on the organization, depends how centralized they are, whether they're centralized or a decentralized organization, culturally speaking, from that entity, where the IT and the OT kind of roll up and combine into. It varies. Some customers have it reporting directly to chairman or a CFO, CEO. Some of them have them reporting under the CIO to handle the operational security. The OT/IT comment, I'm just using it. It's generally been used by marketing people to identify and classify those two realms. So, but that's what we're seeing. Just it varies. But generally, at some level, corporately, it's being driven because of insurance risk in many cases. So a lot of times, the financial insurance or the audit is extending into the process control, and that's what's driving a lot of the efforts.
Thank you, Frank. Any other question? If we don't have any more questions,
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
From STS-AIChE.
USB.
This is yours.
Oh, thank you very much.
It works because you have tested it.
Thank you.
And
No
then-
virus, no malware.
There is no malware. And
Exactly.
we have a mug. It says STS-AIChE.
Oh, thank you.
And that's our, so you can put it on your desk.
Thank
and
you.
that will remind you about our organization.
Will do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thanks
much
for
for the
coming.
time to give.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
accepting our invitation. Thank you. Before you all disappear tonight, the most important part is the audience. If you guys are not here, we can't do anything, right? So our sincerest thanks to everybody who took the effort to be here and be a part of this audience. We really, really appreciated that very much. So have a safe trip back and come back tomorrow for our SPTC conference in the morning, starting at 8:30? 7:30.
7:30 breakfast, 8:30. Yay!
7:30 breakfast. Those who are
7:30
looking
breakfast,
for
8:30 the sessions begin.
Those who are looking for breakfast come at 7:30, otherwise 8:30. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.